Great. Let me now officially welcome everyone to the information session on a very unique program at the University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies, Upskilling in Biomanufacturing. I am Kelly Heggie, and I am one of the program directors at the School of Continuing Studies. As we get started, I want to mention that this webinar is being recorded and it will be made available to all participants next week. As well, if you have any questions throughout the session, please note them in the chat box and we will have a question and answer period at the end of the presentation. And do please note that for this session, you have access to the chat box, but you do not have access to the video or the audio for this session. So with that, I would like to start with our land acknowledgement. So we wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this island. Okay, now let's get started to discuss the new Upskilling in Biomanufacturing program. The three micro-credentials that are part of the program are collaboration among the University of Toronto School of Continuing Studies, University of Toronto Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering, and the Centre for Commercialization of Regenerative Medicine, also known as CCRM, and we'll hear more about CCRM shortly. The micro-credentials were developed with the funding from the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering and the Government of Ontario's Micro-Credential Challenge Fund. I would now like to turn things over to our guest speakers to introduce themselves. So Julie, Sarah, Catherine, I'd like to invite you to the screen. And Julie, we will start with you if you'd like to do an introduction. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Leo Day. I'm a professor in biomedical engineering at the University of Toronto. I'm also usually Vice Dean of Graduate Studies in engineering. I'm currently on leave for a few months, but back in the Vice Dean position in July, so in a few weeks.
Great, over to Sarah. Yes.
Great, you can hear me, Kelly? Always got to double check. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah LePage, and I'm the manager of technical training programs at CCRM, but also its subsidiary called Omnia Bio. So I'll be heading up the practicum for one of the micro-credentials that you'll be learning about today, which is the GMP micro-credential.
Thank you, Sarah. Over to you, Catherine. And I think, Catherine, you're on mute.
Right. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes,
good afternoon.
great.
My name is Catherine Kennedy. I'm the Senior Manager of Quality Assurance and Compliance in CCRM. So I'll be co-hosting with Sarah in CCRM on your practicum portion of the Good Manufacturing Practices and Quality Assurance Management for this micro-credential. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So now we'll turn the stage over to Julie. Hi, Julie. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. I will tell you a little bit more about the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering. So Ontario and Canada are currently expanding their biomanufacturing capacity. And we are and have been for a while facing a shortage of skilled workers in the area of biomanufacturing. The Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering, so I will refer to the faculty as engineering, is responding to this demand by collaborating with the School of Continuing Studies and engineering longtime partner CCRM, and this to offer training in this micro-credential initiative. And just for your information, we also have other programs in the faculty that are now incorporating biomanufacturing. And the goal of this is to fill this gap in skilled workers as soon as possible. Synergy and partnership with industry have always been highly valued in engineering because it enhances the experience and training of all members of our community. So we are really excited by this collaboration. So within the University of Toronto, U of T, and engineering, BioZone is a center for applied bioscience and bioengineering research. And the work done there is extremely relevant to advancing biomanufacturing. BioZone is made of multidisciplinary researchers who work at the interface of biology and engineering, and they share a common vision, which is to advance biotechnology and address urgent challenges, not only in health, but in energy and environment as well. BioZone has a unique set of skills and tools for the development of biomanufacturing processes, and they range from the microliter scale to the hundreds of liter scale processes. Interestingly, BioZone's ability to engineer and model biological system opens avenues for the development of novel cutting-edge biomanufacturing processes. Also, BioZone has been expanding its biomanufacturing capacity to facilitate fee-for-service use by academic and industrial collaborators. So now, Sarah will tell you a little bit more about CCRM. So up to you, Sarah.
Okay, great. Looks like my camera's not working. Can everyone confirm that they can hear me though? I see someone in the chat says that they can't hear anything. Okay, wonderful. Awesome. Okay, Kelly, can you see me or is my screen black?
We can see you, Sarah.
I can't see myself, so if I do anything funny, I apologize. All right, can we move on to the next slide, please? Unless I can do that. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little description about CCRM, or the Center for Commercialization of Regenerative Medicine. So CCRM was founded in 2011, and we are an organization that supports the scale-up, biomanufacturing, and commercialization, specifically for something called cell and gene products. So we have an incredibly talented and very diverse team of process development scientists, manufacturing specialists, and this includes, honestly, a really stellar operations group, as well as a quality assurance team that's led by my colleague, Catherine, that you'll hear about later, or that you met earlier. And we also have business development managers, and CCRM has an entire arm where they help to build up and scale out cell and gene therapy companies. So our involvement in the biomanufacturing sphere, as Julie alluded to earlier, is through something called one arm of CCRM called the Center for Cell and Gene Therapy Production, or the acronym is CCVP, and you'll learn about more about it in the video. And in this biomanufacturing space, we can support a variety of different biomanufacturing processes for both cell production, production of different types of cells for cell therapy, as well as viral vector production for cell modifications or gene therapy. And we can do this in any one of our 10 GMP compliant clean rooms. So in the video that's going to play shortly, and Sean will give you the heads up to play it in a second, you're going to get a small glimpse, just a minute and a half or so, of what the CCVP is, okay, the Center for Cell and Gene Therapy Production, which is our GMP facility. You'll kind of get a little glimpse of that and a little glimpse of where you would be doing your GMP and your QA practicums should you decide to enroll in one or both of the micro-credentials. So Sean, if all is well, you can play the video now.
The role of CCRM in commercializing regenerative medicine is to act as a catalyst by providing unique personnel and infrastructure to accelerate the development of these revolutionary products. The industry has grown significantly and the clinical pipeline has grown that we need to raise the bar, we need to raise the standards, and we need to raise the output to enable these clinical trials.
We have already proven ourselves as uniquely qualified in the cell and gene therapy space We have now opened the CCBP facility, and this, with our expertise in process development, really means that we will be able to manufacture for the benefit of patients in these clinical trials.
This requires a very specialized kind of facility. You need a very rigorous control on cleanliness and quality, and that's what this facility represents.
We've got 20,000 square feet, of which we've arranged 10 grade B production suites. In those 10, we can do multitude of projects, but 2 are specifically designed for viral vector production, and then 8 cell therapy suites. We've got a QC laboratory that supports all release testing and in-process testing. The big feature is our access routes to get materials and people into these production suites without risking contamination.
There's a very
Great, thank you, Sean.
So why did, can you hear me? Yes. So why did the School of Continuing Studies, the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering, and CCRM come together to develop micro-credential for upskilling in biomanufacturing? Well, it's clear for us that a skilled workforce in biomanufacturing is central to our ability to respond and adapt quickly to future health priorities, and even, for instance, to minimize disruptions caused by future pandemics. A couple of years ago, the Government of Canada launched a biomanufacturing and life science strategy with the aim to improve biomanufacturing capacity and strengthen the life sciences industry in Canada. So in response, employers in this area are expanding their facilities and are looking for a workforce with up-to-date skills in biomanufacturing. So there was a report in 2021, so the BioTalents Canada's a national report that predicted that Canada's bioeconomy needs 65,000 jobs by 2029. So these micro-credentials provide the opportunity to learn key skills in biomanufacturing. So I will give you an overview of the 3 micro-credentials in this program. So they all have a similar structure. So the first micro-credential is good manufacturing practice in biomanufacturing, or abbreviated as GMP. The second is quality assurance management in biomanufacturing. And the third one is bioprocess foundations. So each micro-credential has a first part, which is a self-paced asynchronous module with instructor support. So they are roughly 6 hours. And there is a second part, which is an immersive observership, which is conducted on site. For the first 2 micro-credential, GMP and quality assurance management, it is on site at CCRM. And the third one, the bioprocess foundation, will be on campus at U of T in Biozone. So when learners successfully complete a micro-credential, they get a digital badge. And they also have the option to complete all 3 micro-credentials. And in this case, they would get 3 digital badges and also a certificate of completion. This is, of course, optional to complete all 3. What you see here from top to bottom is the suggested sequence, but it's not required to do this in this order. Now, Sarah will tell you more about the first micro-credentials.
All right, hello again. Okay, so our instructor for the asynchronous portion of this first micro-credential in GMP wasn't able to come to the info session today, so I'll be explaining both the asynchronous and the practicum component of the GMP micro-credential. So within this 12-hour micro-credential, you will learn to describe GMP regulations and their practical application to quality. You'll be identifying best practices for working in a GMP compliant environment. You'll really get a good fundamental overview of the importance of manufacturing control, good documentation practices, and we'll also fit in an introduction of quality assurance and its relevance in GMP environments. So it really serves as a good overview, which then leads us into the practicum portion of this micro-credential. So as mentioned before, 6 hours of this micro-credential will take place on site at CCRM, where I'll be conducting a tour of our GMP manufacturing facilities. Again, that's in that CCBP, Center for Cell and Vector Production area that I mentioned earlier. And within these 6 hours of our practicum, we'll be conducting live interactive sessions with GMP operators or production associates to complete a cell therapy focused process in a simulated clean room environment. And in addition to that, we'll be doing a lot of hands-on demonstration of some materials and equipment that we would see in a cell therapy clean room, as well as doing hands-on demonstrations with specialized personal protective equipment that's required by GMP to work in a clean room. And big selling point for this course is you'll be able to interact with industry professionals at CCRM to learn more about what careers are available that fit within the biomanufacturing sphere. Okay. And then I believe Catherine will be joining us to introduce the next micro-credential.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, are you able to see me and hear me? Thank you. Yeah. So this micro-credential, quality assurance management and in biomanufacturing, is hand in hand with the credentials that Sarah had explained. So here in this micro-credential in the practicum space, you will be identifying and you will be able to describe leading quality models and process excellent methodologies. And also you'll be able to explain the impact of quality on the business results. You will be able to analyze data to diagnose quality issues and determine root causes. You will also be able to describe and follow the 7-step process for the corrective and preventive actions. Also able to describe and follow recommended control strategies and tools. Can we have the next slide, please? And in this immersive observership, as Sarah mentioned, we'll be touring the GMP facilities and we'll be applying the good documentation practices using real-life examples of the cell manufacturing in the GMP environment, along with the GMP processes, etc. But outside of the GMP environment, from the clean rooms, in a classroom setting, we'll be having all the hands-on training on the non-conformance examples and also application of the quality review and action steps. Again, you will be also interacting with all the industry professionals to have hands-on experience on how these biomanufacturing processes and the quality assurance management go hand in hand. Thank you.
Micro-credentials is called Bioprocess Foundation. So it's currently under development and it will be offered later this fall. I can tell you a little bit more about this micro-credential. So the focus of this micro-credential is to first describe types of cells used in bioprocessing and basic principle of cell growth. Recognize basic differences and similarities in the nature of microbial and mammalian cell culturing processes, demonstrate bioreactor setup and basic operations, learn to identify typical steps in upstream and downstream processing of biologicals, and describe factors that influence product generation and purification. So the asynchronous module will be followed by an immersive observership in a laboratory on campus within Biozone. Oops. Okay, so to To summarize, the benefits of completing these micro-credentials are it's a specialized, flexible, short-term training. So it's roughly 12 hours per micro-credential. It improves job readiness and competitiveness. So Canada has recently made large investments in biomanufacturing projects, and there's a high demand for skilled workers in this area. The interactive observerships provide an opportunity to apply learning from a synchronous module in an industry setting. And also the interactive observerships provides an opportunity to network within industry and with other learners. So now up to Kelly to tell you a little bit more about the schedule.
Thank you, Julie. Yes, thank you to Julie, Sarah, and Catherine for providing an overview of this new Upskilling in Biomanufacturing program. Now, just before we go into our question and answer period, I'd like to highlight the two courses, Good Manufacturing Practices in Biomanufacturing and Quality Assurance Management in Biomanufacturing. To learn more, you can use the QR codes that are now up on the screen. And also we will put the links to the courses in the chat box as well. To give you more information on when these courses will be offered, for the Good Manufacturing Practices in Biomanufacturing, the first offering of this course will open on June 6th of this year, so just in a couple of weeks. And for the Quality Assurance Management in Biomanufacturing course, it will start on August 6th, later in the summer as well. And then as Julie mentioned, the third course on bioprocessing, it will be coming out in later this year in the fall term. All right, so at this time, we'll open it up to questions. And if you would like to go ahead and put your questions in the chat box, that would be great. And I'll take a peek and see if there was any questions added earlier in the session. So we do have a question here. Please tell me the way to get more information regarding this program. And I do believe our colleague Roxanne provided a comment on that. But again, you can use the QR codes on the screen here. That will take you to the School of Continuing Studies site and gives you more information around the courses, how to enroll, the start dates and such. So hopefully that does help. But please let me know if you'd like more information. Any other questions for any of our speakers? I do see a question from Juliana. Juliana, what I will do when we send out the recording of this session, there will be an email contact for you there, and we can discuss your situation, this one-off situation with you. So if I could encourage you to just send us a note about that and we can discuss it. I hope that works for you, Juliana. Craig has a question around the enrollment capacity. And with the enrollments for these courses, because there is the immersive observership with CCRM, we're looking at enrolling 20 people per course. Next question here is around the prerequisites, or if there's certain criteria to take before you can take these courses. I might share this one with Julie. Julie, would you like to comment on any prerequisites that you would recommend individuals take before these courses?
The prerequisite would look like a bachelor's degree in life science or physical sciences.
Great, thank you. Great. Let's see if there's any other questions. We'll just give it a couple minutes. Sure. So we do have a question here in regards to the application process. So with the application process, as Julie had mentioned around the prerequisites, so considering if you do have the appropriate prerequisites in your background, and then you could go on to the School of Continuing Studies site and enroll in the course there. With regards to the cost of each micro-credential, they are at a cost of $2,000 per course. Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for their interest. Let's just see, take another quick look to see if there is another question has come in. With regards to will these courses be offered in the future, the plan is to offer each of these micro-credentials each term. So the plan would be to offer, you know, the good manufacturing practices in biomanufacturing. It would be offered 3 times in the academic year, so once per term for each of the courses. And we have a question here, the immersive observership, will that be based on CCRM workflow or specific projects for the course? Sarah, could I invite you back to the stage? We could just have a discussion around this.
Just coming back on now. So based on CCRM workflow specific projects within the course, we are developing kind of a mock production batch record for the course that's based on some of CCRM's regular workflows. So it's developed specifically for this course.
Thank you.
No problem.
And there's a question about will these courses be in person? So for each of the micro courses, there is the first part is self-directed, and that would be about 3 weeks. And then there is the immersive observership, where that would be in person, and it is located in Toronto at the Mars building. So there is an in-person component when you would go to CCRM for 1 day. Okay. Okay, we got a question here. What types of industries are the courses geared towards? Julie, can I invite you back to the stage to have a discussion around this question?
But this is that most of the industrial partners that we get feedback from are in the health science area. However, some of the micro credentials could be applicable to other areas like environment, for instance, and energy.
Thank you. And then we do have the question around, I am a student at UTM. Could I take this course? So again, everyone, this is open, these courses are open to everyone, just considering the prerequisites that are needed for the courses. Great, great questions. Thank you for your interest. Is there any other questions? All right, okay. Well, at this time, I don't see any additional courses in the chat box. So I think this brings us to the end of our presentation. I want to thank everybody for attending. And once again, the recording of the session will be distributed next week with additional resources, including our email contacts if there happens to be additional questions that do come up. We look forward to seeing you in these courses, and I will now stop the recording. Take care.